is now recording. Okay, good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome all returning board members and new board members to the March 9 Barrie Unified Union School District School Board meeting, which we are now calling to order. I would like to start the meeting by opening the floor up to nominations for school board chair.
So I would like to make a motion for Giuliano Ceccanelli.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So we now have a motion on the floor as a nomination for Giuliano Ceccanelli to be school board chair. All those in favor, please say aye.
Excuse me, point of order. Should ask if there are any other nominations so that we would have them all on the floor.
Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm also trying to let people in at the same time. Forgive me. So we have a nomination on the floor for Giuliano Ceccanelli. Are there any other nominations for school board chair? Okay, with that, thank you for that clarification. With that, all those in favor of Giuliano Ceccanelli to be the school board chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, please say nay.
I'm going to abstain.
We have one abstention. I don't know if Andrea is here, but we have 8 ayes and 1 abstention. Congratulations, Mr. Ceccanelli.
Thank you.
Welcome. And I hand the meeting over to you, sir.
All right, thank you, everyone. So I would entertain a motion to elect a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Chris Parker. I second.
There's a motion and a second for Chris Parker to be vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so there's a nomination for Chris Parker as vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain again.
All right, welcome aboard, Chris.
Thank you, Juliana.
And I would now entertain a motion to elect a board clerk.
I would nominate Michael Booth.
I don't think so.
No? Why not?
No. This is my first day. No, probably not a good idea.
That's okay, you can do it. It's not as complicated as you think it is.
No, thank you. I will appreciate the offer, but I will pass.
Okay.
Are you sure? I'm just double checking.
I am very
Okay.
positive.
So I'm still looking for a nomination for board clerk.
Can we ask if anyone's interested?
I was
in
about-
doing it?
I was
I'm
just
the
about
outgoing
to-
clerk. It's fairly easy.
I was about to say,
so-
would it be helpful to explain the position?
Yeah, I mean, so the position is basically keeping track of the motions for when we're in executive session or when a meeting is not being recorded, who makes the motions, what time the motions are, whether it was unanimous or if there were different configurations of voting, sending that information to Andrea, who takes the notes, and also sending her the sign-in sheets from the meetings. That's essentially the whole role. And it's only for board meetings, not for committees.
Any volunteers? I don't think I've ever.
Hell, I'll do it if nobody else wants.
I'll nominate Paul Malone as the board clerk.
Second.
So there's a motion, a second for Paul Malone as board clerk. Do I have to ask if there are any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Paul. All right, regular board meeting days and times. Would everyone like to continue with Terry? suggestions?
I would like to propose that we change from Mondays, Thursdays to Monday, Wednesdays, doing committee meetings on week 1, board meetings on week 2, committee meetings on week 3, and board meeting on week 4. And the reason that I would ask to make that change is our current structure with what I do for work and my business, having meetings on both ends of the week prevents me, I have to turn down a lot of work. So if I can have one end of the week, I can do some work and actually pay some bills. So going to Monday, Wednesdays would be wonderful for me.
I have no objections to that.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So are you just saying change the board schedule would remain the same on the second and fourth Thursday?
Yeah.
And then committees would just be the first and third
Yeah.
week of the month?
So board meeting weeks would be just board meetings, no committees, which I'm sure everybody would love.
Okay.
So let me make another clarifying question.
Yeah.
This particular item is really related to board meetings. I don't think it's related to the committees, but
I think it's committees as well, but
Well, it will affect.
Yeah.
Well, actually it doesn't, but then once we get to the committee,
they do the same thing. Yep.
yeah.
So you want the board meeting on Monday, Wednesdays?
I'm sorry, board meetings would only be Wednesdays.
Only
So
Wednesdays.
board, committees Monday, Wednesdays, right?
Monday
So
and
boards,
Wednesday.
boards would be
Okay.
Wednesday, yes, good idea. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, thanks.
board meeting.
No, no, Monday,
Yeah,
Wednesday.
right, I
Board
think
meeting
I'm
on
hearing
Wednesdays.
multiple things here.
Yeah,
Right.
board meeting on Wednesdays, not Thursdays.
I'm okay with that. on
I'm okay
Wednesdays.
with that.
But how would we fit in 5 committees on Monday? Four commit, well, you're not counting negotiations?
But that's
We
just,
have 4
it's
plus
scheduled wherever anyway,
negotiations.
so.
So those would only be on Mondays and Wednesdays of 1 week, that's only 2 days.
On,
You got two separate weeks. if
Two
you
separate
work it,
weeks.
So you got 4 meeting openings if you do that right.
Two
Monday,
separate
Wednesday.
weeks.
As
And you
long as you
have
don't
to-
have.
And on the other weeks,
It's only a board meeting, so you could do, you have all the other 4
Uh-huh.
days are open.
Why can't we just set the board meetings and then let the committees decide what days of the week they wanna be on?
Because it needs to be,
Yeah.
standardized.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
easier.
That I can agree with.
Yeah. I make a motion to accept Monday, Wednesdays for board meetings and Monday, Wednesday for committees.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we're just establishing and then we'll work the committee days as we go further down. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. There's a second.
May I just bring up a couple things? I think, just a cautionary tale based on, we work our calendar around the board meeting, so that I'm just worried that there might be some conflicts, at least from now to the end of the year on Wednesdays, because we try to not schedule things on Thursday nights. I don't know that for a fact, but I just wanna put that out there as something to
I
consider.
went through the schedule, Chris, it looks pretty good, but certainly you know about
Okay.
it, so.
Well, yeah, I don't know, there might be some school events, et cetera, but that's when this happens anyway. I'm just putting it out there as a
So,
caveat.
so if we do run into any problems, is it okay if we use Thursday as a fallback for now to the end of the year? Okay,
Or needed.
all right. There's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our regular board meetings will be on Wednesday.
Thank you, everybody.
Beginning,
yeah, we're saying first and third? Well, it needs to
Second
be.
and fourth, board
Second
second
and
and
fourth.
fourth, just like they are now. just move
So
to
let's just stay, cause this item is specifically regular board meetings, so second and fourth,
Wednesdays. Second and fourth,
Wednesdays.
6 o'clock.
Which, as I understand, leaves the first and third weeks open for Mondays and Wednesdays. Is
For
that
committees,
just-
yeah.
Okay.
so the next board meeting will be on the 22nd, which is also negotiation.
I would start it on April. I mean,
Okay.
Let's not, let's leave this month alone, it's already
Okay.
scheduled, right?
Okay,
You make that effective April.
Does that have to be amended? Or is it just a friendly agreement?
well, it's fine to be a friendly agreement, there's already a conflict for
Everything's
the next
scheduled, right? I
one.
think everything's scheduled for March, it makes sense to just start in April, I think. Yeah,
So I'm amenable to the amendment being April.
from the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Board retreat date.
Can I say one other thing?
Oh.
So this also impacts policy A20. That will need to be amended because that has the regular meeting schedule listed in there as well.
That you just changed, right?
Yeah, thanks. I'll just make a note of that if I happen to end up on the committee again.
Anyone else have any other questions, concerns before we move on? Okay. Board retreat date. Did we have a scheduled board retreat date?
We don't have it scheduled.
I don't think there's anything scheduled. I think last year it was in April.
Any suggestions? Do we want to try and keep the same time frame or?
What is the time frame?
April
Well,
would be good. Sooner
if it
better.
was in April before,
The April break is the 22nd to the 26th. So have that out there.
Good week.
Daytime, nighttime, late afternoon, but
Maybe late afternoon. April 25?
I'm not available the week of break. I'll be out of town.
Yeah, I will not be here on the 25th. That week is gonna be tough.
any other suggestions?
what are the days in April available?
So if we do.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe wait till committees are set, because
It's gonna,
if
Hmm.
committees' dates change, then
Yep.
it might be hard to pick a date right now.
The 11th would be the off week, April 11th. That's the second week of April, so there'd only be a board meeting that week if we do committees on the same schedule we already discussed. That would be Tuesday the 11th, on an off week.
Tuesdays don't work for me.
Oh, that's right, sorry, Michael. Sorry,
How about the 12th? Is that gonna be chewed up?
12th will be a board meeting. That's right.
What about May 2nd? It's a Tuesday,
close to April.
close to April.
Michael just said
Yeah,
Tuesdays don't
Tuesdays
work
don't
for
work.
him.
Oh, that's right. All Tuesdays.
A different Tuesday doesn't
I'm
work
like looking on there,
either.
like, it says pay Honda bill, but I've already paid that off. But it does say city council, sorry.
Maybe
May
we-
1st, Monday?
That would be if we change committees, that'd be a committee that day.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we should
Would we
wait.
wanna take it
Just
on a board meeting night in lieu of a board meeting?
It's
That's a good
possible.
suggestion.
Pick one.
Wanna do
It'd be the
April?
19th? Yeah, the 19th.
April 5th or 19th?
Yeah, April 19th?
19th?
That's the,
Yeah,
That's the
board
third, yeah.
no, that's not a,
meeting. Oh, the 4th, sorry, yeah, it would be second. and fourth, right?
26?
Oh, yeah.
12th or 26th?
Oh, the 26th
26th
is
is
vacation.
But you're on
So
vacation.
second and fourth
So
would be the
12th.
12th.
All
So
right.
do
Can I
do
ask a clarifying
12
question
now?
on the
Wrong
retreat?
ones.
How much time is dedicated to the retreat? How much?
2 to 4 hours.
Okay, and time of day?
I think 4-ish we usually start, right?
4 to
Like a
8.
4 to 8 kind
So you
of.
said May 12th?
Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday, Michael?
Which date now?
May 12th is Wednesday?
I think we're in April.
April 12th.
April 12th.
Wednesday, April 12th.
in place of the board meeting.
Yeah.
Like bingo.
Whatever works.
May 12th?
I,
October 12th?
I haven't heard a no yet.
Tentatively 4 p.m.
It works for me.
Okay.
Okay. 4 p.m. And where?
That would, I would assume it's the
Community bank.
the community bank, but we would just have to check their schedule.
We also, when we changed the, when we said we were going to not move around, we said we might do retreats at the other buildings so that we could be in the other buildings. That was a suggestion. And so we could potentially look at if there was space at Berry City or Berry Town for us to do a retreat. Because we're not in those buildings any other time.
Okay.
So the Community National Bank would be out?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why wouldn't we do the Community National Bank?
I actually have a group that currently meets on the second Wednesday
Oh,
of
so
the month.
it's not-
However, I'm willing to give that up for a board retreat for that week if that's when you wish to have it.
Yeah.
We can determine the location.
Yeah, I don't think the location is as pressing as the date.
Agreed.
So the location TBD.
Chairs are more comfortable there.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, so if you're gonna have the board retreat on the 12th in lieu of a board meeting, and the 26th is school vacation, which I'm assuming there won't be a board meeting that week, so there's no board meetings happening in April, open session meetings.
Let's see the calendar here.
Good observations here.
Yeah, there is currently a board meeting scheduled for the April break.
It sounds like a lot of people are gonna be out.
An option would be to do it on an off week or in lieu of a different committee meeting for the one,
Or
the
virtual.
one option.
The 20th is currently scheduled for finance. Oh wait, and we're talking Wednesdays anyway. Right?
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
19th is nothing right now. Yeah.
Committee meeting.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes around holidays and school breaks, things get a little wonky, so
Yep.
that might just have to be that way.
So would you like just to keep it as it is scheduled and work it out as we get closer? Okay.
There's no way of doing it during the day, but like in the afternoon. We did that before.
Yeah, that's just everyone's schedule kind of coming together. We can have that, I mean, we're discussing it now, we can
Okay.
discuss it further. You still want to keep it 4 to 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there a motion? Do we need a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion
At least
to
for the
schedule
date
it?
and the time.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we have 4/12/23 from 4 to 8 p.m. As our retreat time.
Second it.
There's a motion and a second for April 12th, 4 to 8. Location TBD. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, committees. As it's worded here, assign at least 3 board members per committee. Committee members will be interviewed and selected at the next board meeting. That has already been taken care of. The bullet points, distribute standing committee charges. We never really got into the charges. I know I developed one, but I never really, never really made it through my committee. Does any committee have a standing charge?
We had one that was distributed when I first came on in August. I don't know where, I don't have my other books with me. But we should have that filed in the central office, I'm sure. That was a VSBA thing, I believe.
I don't think there's committee charges.
So we can kind of just move past these bullet points and I don't have to committees. Okay.
It might be a good board retreat agenda item to standardize something if we want to do that.
All right. Can add it to the list.
Committee charges on the parking lot for board retreat items under E.
Oh, thank you. Perfect. Okay, so what I did is I went through the list of members. What I tried to do is make it equitable for each board member and try to balance the committees. I'll go through and just list my suggestions and then go from there. So finance, the board members, Paul, Sonia, Ben, and Emily, along with the two community members that the had decided to stay on for their second year. The day of the month and time.
Please hold. I just kind of written down a tentative thing, and we can certainly move these around, but I had facilities the first Monday, curriculum the first Wednesday, finance the third Monday, and policy the third Wednesday. Obviously, they can bump around to wherever you want.
Can you say that again?
Yes.
Just a little slower.
I did.
Actually, what can we? Why don't we just tackle them?
One by one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each. So just start with
For finance.
finance.
Well, it's just, I mean, you guys all need to agree, but.
Yeah. Well,
A
yeah.
committee meeting on Monday and a committee meeting on Wednesday for the first week. So I had facilities and curriculum.
Well, what's finance?
Third Monday, if you all agree with that.
Well, there's a big long line, so if we kind of get through all of them, maybe we can shuffle them around.
Okay.
And facilities, Terry, Ben, and myself. I added myself in because I felt that to be equitable, every board member got 2 committee assignments.
So Terry,
Terry, Ben, and myself.
And Terry, what did you have for facilities for day?
First Monday,
First Monday.
For curriculum, Nancy, Michael, and Chris.
first Wednesday. Everybody else?
I would like that. I like Wednesdays.
You can make it Tuesday.
No, I can't.
Policy, Chris, Nancy, Michael, and Emily.
Please remove me from policy.
I will do that.
Third Wednesday for that one.
You said the third Wednesday?
Yep.
That works well for me for curriculum and policy to both be on Wednesdays because work days are late on Mondays, so Wednesday is a better day for me for sure. So the both of those work for me for those.
Hopefully none of them have one a week. It'd be nice if it worked out that way.
Yeah.
okay. Curriculum is which day?
Curriculum first Wednesday.
First Wednesday. Okay. And the third Wednesday's the policy? or-
Third Wednesday's policy.
And who did you say for policy? Me, Emily, and who's the other person? Michael.
Michael.
I can be trouble. Just so you know.
Okay.
Is everyone all set? Okay. For negotiations, I kept it the same. I just added myself because I think I need to know what's going on.
So the same is who?
Sorry, Sonia, Paul, and Terry.
As I mentioned when we chatted earlier, you know, I think 4 is a problem. I think it needs to be an odd number. Because you could potentially end up with a tie vote. And then what do you do?
And I'm asking to be put back on finance.
So your issue is with me being on the negotiations because
No, not you. I'm just saying 4.
4,
It could potentially end up with a deadlock, right? 2 and 2. And a vote would fail. So then what do you do?
Could it be a non-voting fourth person?
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah,
I could be the non.
I'm just, it's a possibility, right? It
Can
can't
you,
four.
can you do that?
We have 4
You're
before.
ex
We
officio
did, but
anyhow.
it could still be a 2-2.
Too many voices.
I was gonna say, you're ex officio on all committees anyways. I mean, you come in and sit in on all those meetings.
Yeah.
I know I did, I know Sonia has too.
I just wanna note that whatever you do is fine, but I'm just gonna note it that you could potentially have a 2-2 and a vote would fail, so it wouldn't go anywhere, it'd be dead.
So
Or have a lawyer.
the negotiations, I think I would need an explanation on that, the voting of, and I'm looking towards Sonia for that.
I honestly can't remember when we voted. We try to just come to consensus.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I agree with.
And the board, and with all committees, the board ultimately has the decision.
I mean, when
Because
we're
everything
sitting-
comes to the board from committee
Well,
work.
Well,
negotiations
not
is, I think, a little
negotiations.
different.
That's right.
But it's lumped into everything, and
It still follows Robert's rules, so. However we do, it's fine, I'm just noting that you could potentially end up with a,
I don't have to be an actual member, I'm fine with the ex officio position and being in.
Just a point of clarity, in negotiations, you know, when we're on the negotiations, we have the authority to act in the negotiating process of going through the contracts, and then everything comes back to the board for ratification and approval. So the board's not left out, it's just that, it's just like the negotiations from the union point of view, they have their representatives and they're negotiating, we're negotiating for the board, as the officers of the district. So it, ultimately, when we get to the ratification process, that comes back to the board. So it's a little bit different than some of the other committees, just pointing out, that's why we have a lawyer there.
I can leave it at 3, but I will be there.
I don't think 4 is gonna be a problem. That's my,
Could you repeat that, Sonia, I didn't hear.
I don't think 4 is a problem.
Can we circle back? I think Nancy made a comment about how she wants to be in finance.
Yes. I mean, considering everything that's going on with the budget and that we've been heavily involved in that, and we've got a revote coming up, I think it's imperative and important that we have members that have been on that finance committee to deal with this.
Can you clarify?
Well, we've got a revote coming up, so, I mean, we've got to go back to what it's going to be. And I think finance is a very important committee, and I think you need to have people on there that know what's going on and understand it, and especially with the climate of the budget right now.
And that's why I wanted a balanced committee, and that has 6 members, 4 of which
And that's going to be.
have had finance experience, Sonia, Paul, and the 2 community members.
I don't know. I
and-
just met them.
No, the community members,
Oh, the
not
yeah.
board members.
Yeah.
And our normal practice is to have new board members on finance, just like Terry and you were new members on finance.
Well, we asked to be put on finance, not because we were new members.
Go ahead.
I think this year's a little bit different year. It's a budget cycle that we've got a failed budget and we've got to continue, so I think some continuity on that committee is probably the right thing. Not that the folks that you asked to be on it knew, can't do it, but there's a lot of information and we're gonna rehash this budget and come up with another version. It's a lot for the new folks to get up to speed on in a week or 2, so
Exactly.
I think you need some continuity on that thing. Just because of where we're at, so.
Sonia?
Can I make a suggestion about the conversations about the current or the next revote? Maybe the way to address that is to not have the finance committee work on the revote because we have to turn it around so quickly and actually just do it at the full board level. That would be a suggestion.
I think what we ought to do is bounce back to that once we start talking about when that revote may occur. Because there's several things that I've received emails on yesterday and today. that will come up when we get to that subject.
Michael?
Yeah, I know we all have very strong feelings about committees that we want. I know that I really had strong feelings about the two committees for policy and curriculum, and I appreciate you putting me on those. You know, and if Nancy wants to be on the finance committee, I think that, you know, we have to, and plus she has the experience on the finance committee, I think that, and I understand that, you know, the whole budget failing, you know, that I think that sending her back to the table with that, I think that's not a bad idea. That's my opinion.
Okay. Like I said, I wanted to keep it balanced. I wanted to keep it equitable. I still believe in that.
Sure, may I join? If you made that change, you'd have two people, you know, you talk about equity, you'd have two
Right.
people that were on it and two people that haven't been on it, so I think it'd still be equitable. I mean, I'm not on it, so you lost your best member, so, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Could you, wait,
I agree with that.
Which part?
Well, it
I
would be
think I-
4 people who were on it because
there are
of
4
community
people on it
members
right
as
now
well.
and 2 community
right.
members.
Well, it'd be the
so-
2 community members plus 2 policy, 2 finance, board members, so 4 people who were on it previously.
4 people who have experience.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle Heber came late to the game.
Yes,
She'll
she
tell you she was just floundering, just trying to keep up. So this is gonna be good for her because she's finally gonna have more of the process.
But the community members haven't been real involved in coming up with this budget. And, I mean, they're there, they provide input, but, anyways. You and I have talked and you know my thoughts.
Juliana, you have a community member who has a question.
Who's, I can't see. Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering why, what's the real reason why you decided to take 2 city members off the finance committee to replace them with 2 members of the 2 newly elected members that I think tonight might actually be their first full meeting they actually attended. I think I'd rather have people that have actually been to at least a few meetings to be on there. I think Terry and Nancy should be on the finance committee.
Terry's not gonna be.
I'm not going.
Thank you, Josh.
Megan Spalding has a question.
Megan?
Hi, yes. I think I have a lot of concerns about this committee because I think it's really important that we have people with different opinions to be on the finance committee. And it's important to have multiple people with multiple voices to represent everybody.
Thank you, Megan.
I mean, one question I have is, if Nancy's joining the finance committee, there's currently 5 people listed for that committee, so we would need to do another switch, so I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to think about switching to a different committee. I mean, that's another part of it, is for Nancy to join, someone else needs to switch. Otherwise, it's a
And you can't
quorum of the board, so.
You can't have a quorum, you're right. And it's about numbers.
Yeah.
Juliana?
Ben?
I just want to say, and I think just defense of at least myself, and I would assume Emily, but I'll let her speak for herself, that we were elected for a reason too, and to get experience, we have to be on a committee. And I think saying that because this is our first meeting and we can't get up to speed isn't taking into account that we are intelligent people. I've worked in the school district for a long time, so I think I have no doubt that if this is an important thing, I will get up to speed. So I don't see that as an argument to necessarily not have new members on there, especially when there does seem to be people who are already on there with experience and the budget was voted down. So I think new ideas are going to be important for this, just to take a new look at it.
Thanks, Wayne.
In defense of the budget being voted down, it was highly, I mean, we had our chair advocating against the budget, and we had administration that was not supportive of the budget, so I don't know if that's really the finance committee's fault. I'm just pointing that out, that it was like the code of ethics, right? You know, it's not.
Numbers are numbers. It's not opinions, it's numbers.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this
separate
is
issues,
this is what's
separate
gonna happen.
issues.
I'm gonna take the heat for this. I'm gonna leave it as it stands. So that's the way. Andrea, is that Andrea?
It's Alice.
Alice,
Out of
sorry.
imprudence.
Alice, go ahead.
Yes, hello, good evening. It needs to be a delegate to the Career Center Board. And on that board, there is a good possibility for someone to be on that finance committee and learn a significant amount of financial information in a somewhat less stressful environment.
Thank you, Alice. Yeah, I did think of that, but I don't have influence on that board, so I don't know how that would shake out.
And Prudence has her question.
I just wanted to agree with what Ben said, and just as an observer here to honor what your newly elected board chair has to say. And if I remember correctly, when new members were coming on, I think Nancy from last time, she had not had any experience on the board with finance, and yet she asked to be on the finance committee, and that was honored. So I think I agree with Ben that just give those new people, they're intelligent, to give that chance and honor what your board chair has suggested.
I have a finance background.
Okay, I'm just going to, once again, I will take the heat for this, but that's apparently my decision. And we are going to move on to the CVCC board representative.
Well, one final thing, Nancy's only assigned to one committee because she's declining to be on the policy committee, so.
And this could be an opportunity.
Okay,
We're not
just
done
to
yet.
keep it equitable, and 2 committees for everybody.
Stand up on the screen if you want.
There are
Is
some
that
more
Josh?
questions. Josh and then Sarah.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, just to clarify what I said earlier, it wasn't a matter of new city members being that this is their first meeting as a school board member. I think this is their first full meeting as just at a school board meeting, period. I have yet to see them sit through a full one. So that's, and the difference between that and what Nancy and others did last year is they actually attended, like every meeting before they got elected. That's the difference I was talking about.
I do understand. Thank you. Paul?
I think what we need to do is continue organizing, and then we can take public comment and so forth.
That's, I kind of. All right, one more.
I don't know why you wouldn't take somebody who wants to be on a committee with a finance background to serve on a committee that they've already served on, and they want to be there.
Because it reaches the quorum. It's 5
So
board
switch
members.
somebody else out. Okay, she wants to serve on that committee, and she has experience, she has a finance background, why wouldn't you keep her on that committee? You don't have to answer, I think it's ridiculous.
Thank you. So I would be looking for a volunteer for the CVCC SD board. Okay, so I will take that on.
There may be a conflict, with meeting dates. That happened with Alice when she couldn't attend.
Yeah, but the meeting dates have been shifted.
I don't know what their meeting dates are gonna be.
Well, I'll cross that path and then I will let the board know.
Jody Emerson might be able to answer that. She's
Oh,
right.
Jody.
First, thank you to Alice and welcome aboard, Giuliano. We have been meeting the first Monday of the month for our board meetings, but that obviously is up for debate when we reorganize in a couple of weeks. So we could change our schedule based on what the board needs.
Just didn't want to get you overburdened with conflict.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
District spokesperson, superintendent and board chair, so that would be Chris and myself. Authorized chair to sign employee contracts. Sorry?
So there was some debate on this throughout last year. That one and the next item on the next page, authorized chair to sign other contracts. That this authorization is that this is the signer. This is not authorizing the chair to sign contracts, that each contract needs to be approved by the board. So if this is the language you need to change, that we're authorizing the chair to be the signer of contracts. My understanding is each contract needs board approval to be signed.
That is correct.
And that's what I was thinking. I'm not.
So you're suggesting a one-word change?
We authorized, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if anyone recalls, we had this conversation a couple of times throughout the last year, that this isn't a blanket, you're the chair, sign what you want, you still need board approval to sign them. This just says that the chair is the person that will sign. So there probably should be some language change here to authorizes the chair to be the signer of contracts.
So this is for contracts like union contracts and so forth? And
It's
individual
employee contracts and
Anything,
other
really.
contracts, yes.
Or we could amend it to say with board approval.
No, that would be easy.
I like that better. That makes it comfortable for me.
That's what statute.
Well, I think it's two things. I think this is saying you're the the board authorizes you to sign, and then I think the board approval is a separate thing. So I think I don't disagree, but I disagree. I think it's two separate things. I think this is saying the board chair is the authorized signer, and board approval is needed.
So you would just like signer?
Yeah,
added to
signer
that?
of contracts, yeah.
Okay.
So I think we have to make a motion.
Yeah, but I was just figuring out the language.
Okay. I'd make a motion that we authorize the chair to be the signer of employee contracts and other contracts after board approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the chair to be the signer of contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Was that motion, my clarification, did that motion include the other?
Yes.
Yes.
Approve business manager, assistant business manager, and superintendent to sign accounts payable and payroll warrants.
I have a problem with that.
I was gonna say, didn't something come up on that last year as well?
Yeah.
Wasn't there an issue there?
And I think you had two designated members to sign from the board, and then you have the superintendent as the alternate.
Right, because
That
we
should
had
be the, so you don't have a construed conflict with your business.
Because we had to do, Chris maybe remembers, we had to do somewhere in mid-year, we did a vote to approve you to do something. There was something missing, and we had to fix it.
Yeah, I think it's exactly as Paul just described it, as I recall.
It was payroll. He hadn't been authorized to sign payroll.
All right, so how would you like it worded?
Well, the thing is, okay, because you need to have the board also signing the warrants. The board needs to also have an authorization on there to show that they've signed, so I don't know how you wanna.
If you look at it logistically, you have.
So
two
to your
board
point,
members.
you would have two people from the board signing.
And if they can't do it, you can default to the superintendent, because he's the acting agent of the school district.
Well, no, it's changed, because now they're going to, the business manager is going to be responsible for signing, you know, the payroll and the accounts payable. And he's gonna be the backup if the business manager can't. And then, once it's all signed, the payments are done, then the warrants are gonna come to the board. and we're going to review them
Okay.
and sign,
Okay.
yes.
I have been the
I stand
backup for Lisa when she can't
Right.
sign it, so.
So this is going to have 2 board member names added to it. Okay.
Chair and
Yes.
vice chair.
Chair and the vice chair of finance.
Just a question, do you need to make a motion in terms of the committees that people were assigned to?
I think what we did last year, at the end, we did one big motion, I believe.
It's the way it's been done in the past.
Yeah, we did one big motion at the end for everything else.
Yes, I think I explained that to Emily, or was it Ben?
It was me.
All right, can we finish this up first and then circle back? All right, so I guess I would be looking for a motion with some type of language to kind of straighten this up a bit.
How should we frame the language? I think you just put it out there, Nancy.
Let's see what they've got written.
I think it should say, if I can take a stab at it.
Yeah, go right ahead,
Approve
because I'm
business
trying to
manager,
pull it up.
assistant business manager, and superintendent to sign accounts payable and payroll warrants, and finance committee chair and vice chair to sign payroll warrants.
I can't pull it up.
And just add the names in, because
Yeah.
the chair and vice chair aren't signing
sounds right.
aren't signing payroll warrants, right?
Is the chair and vice chair only signing payroll, or are they also signing
Just
Just
accounts
warrants, just
payable.
AP warrants.
just AP but not payroll?
Exactly.
That's why you just can't add the names in the front, because we don't want to put them for both, right?
But you originally said payroll, so I was
I'm sorry.
confused. So, but
Yeah.
you meant accounts payable?
Accounts payable, AP.
Okay,
Yep,
okay.
Yep. Just add it at the end.
And then after warrants and finance committee chair and vice chair to sign AP warrants.
Accounts payable warrants, yep.
Yeah, the warrants will be reviewed and authorized at each board meeting by the chair and vice chair, or by the chair or vice chair of the finance committee meeting. That's how it should be worded.
Okay.
Okay?
Are we clear on that? It's okay.
If everyone else is agreeable with it,
So do we have a motion to that effect?
that was the language, and I'm looking for a
Let's make
motion.
that a motion to
A
that effect,
motion.
and if the language is not pure, we'll purify it before we get back into the next meeting, I'm sure. So I make that motion.
It's a motion, looking for a second.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, for the approval of the business manager, assistant business manager, and superintendent to sign accounts payable and payroll warrants, and finance committee chair and vice chair to sign AP warrants, account payable warrants.
I would put a semicolon after warrants between that and that, right, just so it separates them, does that make sense?
Who's taking the minutes?
It's being recorded.
It's just taking the recording?
Andrea's
Right.
on the beach somewhere.
Hopefully you can hear it.
So, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now,
Just since we made that comment, can you read it very loudly for the recording?
Oh, yeah. Tell me if I get this wrong, you know. Approve business manager, assistant business manager, and superintendent to assign accounts payable and payroll warrants, and finance committee chair and vice chair to sign accounts payable warrants. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Beautiful.
We're going to circle back, and I would look for a motion to approve committee assignments for finance, facilities, curriculum, policy, negotiations, and the CVCCSD board.
Is it possible to take the finance out of that so that we can get unanimous vote on everything else? And then deal with the other? Do you mind?
I probably would have waited until we butted up against that if there was an issue. But now that you brought it up,
So I'll make a motion to approve everything except for the finance committee portion of it.
Well, I think I heard Juliana say he's made the decision that that is who's gonna be on the committee. So I'm not sure there's further discussion for that, if that's the chair's decision.
If it's the chair's decision, then I'll make a motion to approve.
She'll answer.
Carrie Lamson.
go ahead, Carrie.
Isn't that a decision of the board? It's a motion by the board?
So if it's a motion of the board, just to move this along, because we know how this is all gonna fall out. So I make a motion to approve everything but the finance committee, and then we can deal with that afterwards.
Second?
So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So how many people are on the finance committee currently?
There are 4 board members and there are 2 community members, with a total of 6 members, voting members. And then anyone from the public is allowed to attend, and board members can attend, other board members. So the addition of another board member would create a quorum of the board.
So this is where.
So I make a motion to accept the recommendation from the chair for the finance committee to include board members Paul, Sonia, Ben, and Emily, and community members Michelle and John.
So you're countermanding a previous motion.
It was the finance committee portion that was singled out. And so the previous vote was for the other committees. This is a new vote on just the finance.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Going to have to, please raise your hand for voting in favor of the members of the finance committee. Sonia, Emily, Chris, Ben. Opposed? Terry, Nancy, Paul, and Michael.
And the chair gets the vote.
Which we knew this was gonna happen this way.
Just practice.
That's okay.
Thank you, everyone, for putting me in that position. But I put myself in the position. So the committee stands. All right, locations for posting agenda and minutes. Each school building, offices of the town and city clerks, front porch forum, the BUUSD website, central office building, and Facebook pages. Does that sound good to everyone? Would someone like to make a motion or add anything, delete anything?
Was the Times Argus taken out of this?
The Times Argus is further down.
designated paper. There are,
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion to accept those locations for posting agendas and minutes.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second for locations for posting agenda and minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So this is our check off list agreement of the use of Robert's Rules of Order.
Motion to approve?
second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of the agreement on the use of Robert's Rules of Order?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discuss the code of ethics. That was sent out. Did all board members read it, sign it, send it back to Tina?
I did not. So I'll just explain the reason why. There was, avoid making comments that may compromise the decision-making ability of the Board of Administrators. And as folks know, I have the podcast that I, have, and the community fan page. I'm not gonna restrict my freedom of speech on this, and based on what happened with the previous board, it doesn't feel like this is necessary anyway, so I will not be signing this. It's not a big deal.
Paul?
I just wondered what the obligatory fact of that is. I know ever since I've been on board, I've always signed it because it just seems like it's a code of conduct in essence, and ethics is part of that. But, other than that, I don't think there's anything that's obligatory about it. And I'm just wondering what that is an issue or not.
Yeah, I was unable to find any statutory basis for this, so it's not required.
Not required.
It's a VSBA thing.
It's not a big deal, folks.
Well, it is a little bit of a big deal. Like, I hear that that's the piece that you're not signing because of, but by not signing it, then there's not an agreement to anything else in the Code of Ethics. So if we start to pick and choose of like, I'll follow everything else but not this, or I'll do this but I won't do that, that is a little bit of a big deal, like, as a group, I think.
And I get that, but.
Point of order.
Oh, sorry.
Supposed to be to the chair, not to each other.
Oh, thank you, Terry.
May I make a comment?
Go ahead, Chris.
This could be a great topic for the retreat. Some things to discuss that could be helpful for the whole board. This is let's put that out there as a thought agenda item.
Would you like me to make a motion to table?
I think that would be wise in this case.
Make a motion to table.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to table well, actually, it says discuss, so I guess that is part of the discussion. But we will table the Code of Ethics for our retreat.
Can we have discussion on that? Just use discussion?
Why not? Why not?
Although this is not required, I think we need to have an ethical behavior that we have to produce within the board. And I would assume that since the voters elected us to do this particular job, they're relying on the fact that we're gonna do ethical things. So it's interesting that it's not codified saying you have to do it, and that's really up to each individual's preference on whether they sign such a document. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, we're going to be relied upon for our ethics. That's the way I look at it. So whether you sign it or you don't sign it, I think we have an obligation in here. It's implied. That's all I'm going to say. Simple as that.
But what are the consequences if somebody isn't ethical? I mean, what?
Well, technically there is, because everyone took the oath of office, and I believe that covers.
That's what, it's okay.
That's a good
So,
question.
I guess, I understand this, I think it's great, I think we should be by this, I think we should honor this, but it's not being. And I just don't know if somebody chooses to sign it and then doesn't follow these code of ethics, then what are the consequences?
And so I think the tabling it to the retreat for a more robust discussion is probably a good idea.
I agree.
It's just, I just have a problem with limiting my free speech options, that's all. And like I said, based on the last school board, it was not really, it held up to anyway.
Right.
Well, it is sort of, Juliana was right, it is sort of covered in the oath of office
Yeah.
that we sign. And one deals with the Constitution, the other one deals with the efficacy of what we are, so. If we sign this, I think it's already implied.
And you signed yours, correct?
No, I did
No,
not.
no,
Oh.
the,
Oh, yeah, that I did, yes, thank you.
so
You're on the hook.
our bases are covered for, I guess I would say the state of Vermont. This will be a topic at the board retreat. There was a hand up.
They decided to take it down.
Okay, do you want me to call the question?
Was there a motion?
There was.
Motion to table was made by Mr. Booton, I
Okay.
don't know who
And
seconded.
I second.
Terry seconded.
I'll
All
call the question.
So the question has been called. All in favor for tabling the code of ethics discussion to the retreat?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. It is on the list.
I believe you need to make the motion to end debate, and then you make the motion to table it.
I don't think so. I think when it comes to the retreat, we'll have to motion to take it off the table. But I don't think you have to
No,
end debate.
Point of order.
Make the motion to cease debate.
Okay, so we will move on to discussing executive session.
It's in the packet, I think.
Yes. It's in that, it was colorized. It's not colorized, it's all in black and white.
Mr. Chair, would it be simple to say that we follow the executive session rules as is outlined and has been the normal standard?
I think it's Vermont statute.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you have to follow it.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
So I'm make a motion that we approve and accept that standard.
Second?
There's a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Making progress. Discussion of open meeting law.
We should have done that in the previous one together because they're essentially the same thing, but.
State statutes, make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Are you making that?
Yeah, that's fine. Or you can second, either one.
There's a motion, a second, all in favor of?
Aye.
Okay. Continue.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. Identify communication practices. I'm a little behind here in this paperwork.
I think it's worth saying here, Mr. Chair, that I think when reading through the material in the packet, it's important to say here, especially in the flurry of FOIA activity that we had last year, that board members need to be very careful about how they communicate, because personal communications can become FOIA-able if they're discussing board business. So I think that's important to make sure that's said specifically.
Okay. Per our discussion, that we had a while ago.
Which you were wrong, but that's okay.
I was wrong.
You were wrong. You gotta read the whole statute. You can't just read pieces of it.
Okay, then we'll discuss
Yeah,
later.
so, no, but you're right. So these things, so can I
Sure.
speak about this?
Sure.
So remember the night we had here a few weeks ago that was like 18 below? Giuliano decided that he and I needed to go out and discuss open meeting law that night. Thank you very much.
No problem.
It was awesome. I'd rather have been home where it was warm. But Giuliano was concerned that I had received a text message from someone sitting at the table, and to join the meeting. He felt that that was an open meeting law violation, which it is not. You have to be discussing board business in order for that to be done. So, interestingly enough, for the rest of our year, I kept tally of every person that picked up their electronic device, and wouldn't it be interesting that almost everybody around the table, every meeting, including you, Mr. Chair, picked up their phone and communicated, so.
Actually, I'm a diabetic, and I'm just checking my blood
Okay,
sugars.
but how do I know, right? Because you assume I'm texting, right? I'm just saying.
Well,
So these shouldn't be in our hands, quite frankly, right? During a meeting, these shouldn't be in our hands. We shouldn't be emailing, we shouldn't be texting, we shouldn't be instant messaging. Because the open meeting law is very clear about that. It says all of that behavior should not happen. Should. Doesn't say it can, but it says it should. So in order for none of us to feel like we have to be the open meeting law police, we should all just do our best to not pick up our phones during meetings.
I understand, but it was during a meeting, and you were not present at the meeting, and all board members need to be heard and hear the conversation.
But the piece you missed was if you're conducting board business, which was not, so that's the piece you missed.
It is board business because you got on and you said you were gonna vote.
No, I didn't. I asked the chair at the time, would you like me to vote? No, we've already voted. So no, that wasn't accurate. You can watch the video if you don't understand.
Let's move on from the dissension because, you know.
It's fine, I just clarifying.
But I agree though, there's clearly an issue with electronic devices at meetings, so.
All right. Did we actually have a motion for this?
I think it's covered in the executive session and open meeting law. I think accepting open meeting law covers that.
Right.
So you want to include identifying communication practices in with the open meeting law that we just.
Well, it does speak about it in there, so that's what I'm asking. Does it cover that? The motion would need to
It's
accept that.
Well,
it's listed.
what communication practices are we identifying?
Thank you.
I mean, that is not clear, and there is nothing in the packet that is about identifying communication practices. If it's about using email in a certain way, or not using email in a certain way, or something like that, then I don't know that I've heard anything be identified of what our communication practice is or is not. I don't even know what that specifically refers to if it's not anything related to executive session or open meeting law.
So, does the administration know what this might allude to as far as communication practices? I mean, there's so many different practices.
Right.
Is it within the confines of the board? Is it the confines of the district? Is it confines of the public? I mean, there's so many different venues.
Right. I mean, just listening to this discussion, my feeling is that for many reasons, it may be wise for us to, as a norm, we agree to have these devices away from us. I have a second device up right now for, honestly, I don't need that up right now. I have this one to run the meeting, but my phone is right here. I agree that could be some potential for that. I think that could be something that we could discuss as a norm, just to remove any appearance of impropriety. I must say, it could actually be very helpful.
It could,
help
but
build trust and.
At the same time, though, I want to acknowledge that there are a lot of folks around the table that have kids, and if honestly, if one of our children calls and needs us, they need to be able to get a hold of us. So I think it needs to be the honor system. I think we just need to be cognizant of it. So
that might be even better.
So what we basically could say is that when we're referring to communications is that we don't use our devices for trying to conduct board business while we are in board business.
It's a reasonable norm that can build trust.
Yeah.
In my view.
And I think to be, just to make an effort to be present as much as possible and limit unnecessary, I mean, the board business is a very specific thing, I think, and that's I think a good practice that I could easily agree to. And just to say, like, everyone will make their best effort to limit unnecessary use of other devices during meetings.
So no World of Warcraft?
Right. Should have thought of that before you ran.
So who would like to summarize that up?
Good luck.
I'll take a stab at it if you like. I think that we will codify, communication practices, that ensure that we are legally conducting board business in an open fashion. And it is all forms of communications. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with you, if your child's sick and you get a call or anything like that, you have to take it. It's just where it applies to the business of the community at large and the board practices.
And again, I would just say it is very clearly spelled out in open meeting law. I think it's just, we just simply need an understanding of, you know, let's all do our best.
And maybe this gets rolled into the open meeting law.
Just make
Well, why
yourself
don't we do
aware.
that? I make a motion to roll it into the open meeting law. I mean, it's very clear on communications and how things go, unless we're talking about who communicates for the board, which would be the chair. But if that's the section, then I would just say, make a motion to roll it into the open meeting laws, because that's where it would belong.
That'd be good.
Jim, and we do have a community member, Melissa, has a question.
Thank you, Chris. Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, so I just have a question about when you're dealing with communications from board members to the public. If someone's email address would only be obtained by a member of the school board in relation to school board activities, do you all have any sort of parameters about contacting the person on a personal email that they have from the school board, or should they be using a school board email, or can they use a personal email to contact members from the public on emails that they've only obtained by being on the school board, if that makes sense?
So all communication to the public via email should be done through our BUUSD email address. If somebody does email you to your private one, I know that for me, what I do if it's business for the city, I would just say, hey, go to my, and I would just forward it to my city address and answer from there. And
I'm talking more. I've had a school board member email me from an email to a personal email address that the only way that they have gotten that email address is by being on the school board. And I feel like that's kind of a violation of trust, that if you obtain a person's email by being on the school board, that you should contact the person only by using your school board email, not by using personal emails about other things, unless. And that's what I'm getting at with communications.
I can, if you don't mind, I'd like to address that. One of the things we've learned out of this last year is that with the FOIA requests coming hot and heavy as they did, there were a lot of mistakes made in that process. I think if we use our BUUSD email accounts, and everybody has this idea that that's a safe way to deal with school issues and so forth, that it really has to be purely in response to just school matters only. I mean, if we have dialogues and things like that among each other, then you're just leaving yourself open to the FOIA. The idea behind having the BUUSD account was so that your private emails would not be exposed to invasive procedures that could be from a legal domain.
I think though what Melissa's talking about though is if a board member is harvesting community members' email addresses from board activity and then using that personally.
Shouldn't do that.
Right, like honestly, like using a sports list to send out emails for political stuff, right? It's kind of the same thing, right? Parents didn't give the coach their emails so somebody could use it politically, right? So it's kind of the same thing. I think, is that what you mean, Mel?
Or a community member sitting on a committee, and then the person has something else to say to them, and then they email them from their personal email to my email, and the only way that they've gotten that email is because I sit on a committee, and I feel like that shouldn't be exposed either. Just like you all don't want board business being sent to your personal emails, totally get that. I don't feel like, unless I have a personal relationship with people and I give out my personal email address, that people shouldn't contact me at my personal email address unless it's about board business.
I would agree with that. I mean, that's the way we should conduct board emails.
Tanya?
Is there Considering that the community members are on the committees for 2 years, can we get them BUUSD addresses?
Actually thought we did do that and we
They do
don't, so
have
that can happen.
Because if, assuming that that's the case, then
Yeah.
people who are communicating board business with community members should just be using a BUUSD email address
Very
instead of.
easy to do.
Okay.
So I have a question
Thought they
on that,
did.
because
Maybe not.
there could be a pitfall. How much of the
No.
board's
They don't.
business do you want to have exposed to, say, a couple committee members that sit on one committee? I mean, I'm talking about community members, because there is something that, dealing with HIPAA and everything else that comes up from time to time.
Well, I think it should be
So I
very
mean,
limited.
that's a legal question, is what I would say. Just so we know, so
Chris?
I think, in this day and age, people have a lot of email addresses. I have a work Gmail, I have my BUUSD Gmail, I have a personal Gmail, and so sometimes they're all open at once, and sometimes you might send an email like, oh, that was the wrong place to do that, or I'm a parent, I might go to reach out to a teacher, and in the FOIA, this did happen, where I was like, oh, I sent that email from my board email to my kid's teacher, not from my personal. I shouldn't have done that. I made a mistake. And I had someone email me yesterday about a personal issue in my board email address, and I said, oh, I think you meant my personal address, here it is, please use that from now on. So I think also just being cognizant of what should be used in each email address and making requests to people, like please email me at my personal email address, or please email me at this professional email address.
Okay, so Chris, you can.
That is
Take
very,
care of
very easy to remedy before the committee meetings start up. But we are in agreement, that's what we're gonna do for
So
community members.
committee members will receive a BUSD email.
Easy enough.
And those are, that would be generated differently in some way to make them visible, or recognizable as a community Gmail from the BUSD.
I mean, we don't want to put the district at risk by some of the sensitive issues that board members are exposed to.
I think we can, I'll have to talk to Emmanuel about this. We can have restrictions on what groups they're in, and what, that can be, we can make that happen, so.
Josh?
Yeah, I was just hoping to hear the rest of Terry Rail's statement before he was cut off and whatnot. If I just want to hear what he had to say.
Were you cut off?
For what, Mr. Howard?
You were talking about people emailing from like coaches lists and stuff like that. I was interested in that, and then you were cut off, so I just was hoping you could finish what you're saying.
Well, I was just responding to Melissa Batow's concern that through what we do here on the board, that folks could potentially get other people's personal emails and use them, and that's not appropriate. So I was just using that as an example. I think we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, there is a motion.
There's. So, would someone please remind me of the motion? Where are we?
We're rolling the communications into the open meeting law.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
I seconded it, or somebody seconded it.
I think it's already, yeah.
All right, all in favor of rolling the communication practices into the open meeting law?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Discuss board development opportunities. Somebody take a stab at that.
I will. Come on.
Go ahead.
So for the new board members, VSBA has tons and tons of stuff. So if you go on their website or even onto, they have a YouTube channel, and they have lots of recent trainings, but then they also have lots of archive stuff. So it's a great place and a really good resource. I've done a pile of them myself, and answers lots of questions. So I would encourage you to just check it out. And then once you get signed up, and they'll send you all their training opportunities, just sign up for them, because even if you're not able to take them, you can watch them and do them after the fact, which they're still just as good, because you see all the discussion and the training. There's a lot of good opportunities on there. And also, the Vermont Secretary of State's office occasionally does Robert's Rules and Open Meeting Law trainings. Those are really good as well. You just watch their website, and I think you can sign up for their newsletter, and they put them on there. But those are also really good training opportunities that are easy to do because they're online. So.
Yes, it's a lot different now than it was before. Like, I don't want to say back in my day, but it used to be a scheduled class. You'd go to some school in the state somewhere, and it would be an hours-long thing of just going through this booklet, spiral-bound booklet of just everything you need, and that was it. Class was done, you got a little certificate, and off you went to do your board stuff. So this is really good to, at your own pace, go through and learn what it means to be a board member.
You miss the good old days.
Yeah, I do.
If
Uphill
you
both
guys-
ways.
Can I?
Go ahead, Nancy.
If you guys you should be getting this book. It's very helpful, and it's online as well. But I've used this quite a bit. It's been very helpful. And also the law book, the Vermont law book,
Good reading.
is, I think Paul has a copy of
We
it.
just got a box of them
Yeah.
on Wednesday.
I
So.
strongly recommend that you get one of those, and also a Robert's Rule book to bring with you. I brought with mine with me a lot. And to Terry's point, there's a lot of training online for the Vermont school boards and for the education website. And they're archived, and they send out weekly things that you guys can sign up for and participate in, which I have done. It's been very helpful.
Sonia.
In addition to the online trainings, which are fabulous, they have, I think it's a spring and a fall in-person session, which are usually like a couple of days. You don't have to go for the entire time, you don't have to go for both days, but they're in-person development opportunities and through the VSBA, and it's an opportunity to meet other board members from around the state and talk to other administrators, and they usually have some really great keynote speakers and breakout sessions, and so I would highly recommend those as well.
Chris.
Yeah, there's also just weekly VSBA updates that you get via email with hot topics, changes in legislation, save the dates, policy updates, with all hyperlinks for everything sort of coming up. So those are filled with good information as well.
And to just add on to that, there's also a mailing that comes to all board members as well.
Right.
Like a little packet of information, kind of deals with the same stuff. And I know that I have some training to do as board chair, so there'll be those sessions coming up.
And I will attend.
So, I'd look for a motion to say that we have discussed board development opportunities.
Make
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, I guess.
I think we covered the local statewide with that as well.
Yeah.
Make a
So,
motion to move on from that as well.
the motion, looking for a second.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Did we discuss it? What did we say about local and statewide education? I'm sorry. Advocacy.
I think we kind of discussed it all with the board development opportunities.
I think it's a little different. If I could, I think to Chris's point about the emails that come from the VSBA, there's an opportunity to understand the education bills that are in front of or going through committees at the state legislature, and they often will give you legislative updates, and sometimes they'll ask you to write into committee members, or sometimes if you feel so moved, you could go and speak and testify in front of committees. And so just being aware of our role in the bigger system and how different bills could impact our district is important to continue to keep on your radar. As a new board member, there's a really steep learning curve, and throwing that in might be a little overwhelming, but just understanding that there are always new bills that are coming up and being discussed, and understanding how that will impact our district is important.
Motion to move on,
Second.
All in favor?
although I think
It was.
we've already
can't do
made a
that.
motion,
I think
so
yes.
I called the question, I'm
There
sorry.
you go. The question was called, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nice.
I make a motion to designate the Times Argus as our paper of record.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I make a motion to make the packet format electronic.
Roll, Michael, good job.
Never second.
And paper?
And paper?
The reason, well, I mean, we can spend it on paper, but that's okay. Yeah, so that's fine.
We bring them.
Make it motion for electronic and paper, that's fine.
Second it, if you didn't already, Chris.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Appoint the negotiations committee chair as the SUSD's voting delegate for statewide healthcare bargaining.
So moved.
Well, it says name filled in after chair is selected.
Yes, we just can appoint them now, and then when the chair is appointed, then we fill in their name. So we just say, we agree that the negotiation committee chair will be our delegate, whoever that is.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Wow. It doesn't feel like we've moved very far.
I know.
Now we're on item 3.
You'll have those.
That's the biggie though.
All right, the pledge and mindfulness moment.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and the mindfulness moment, just take a few minutes to think about why we're here and what we are doing and who we are doing it for. Okay, comments for items not on the agenda. This is the public comment segment.
Juliana, do we need to approve the agenda
We
first?
missed number 4.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I checked that off beforehand. Apologies. Additions or deletions with a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Sonia?
Could we add the FY24 budget in light of the fact that there is some information that came in the addendum just to talk about logistics?
Sure. Where would you like to add that?
Old business?
Oh,
Current business?
that, isn't that on the agenda? The finance committee is this week or next week?
It's supposed to be the 16th.
Next week,
Yes.
that is on the agenda.
It's on the
Finance committee
agenda,
next week.
yes.
I'm not suggesting a full discussion of the FY24 budget. I'm just suggesting that we could talk about the
Process?
timeline, maybe, so that the community can understand.
I have a quick update. What do you want to do first?
Okay, so,
Under old business,
yeah,
8.1.
I think that would be appropriate. And it's just a budget discussion? Is that how you want to do it?
Timeline?
Budget timeline?
Timeline and
I'd say it's a revote timeline.
Okay, anything else? All right,
Terry, were you the first on that one? I
Yes.
think you were.
Yes.
I'm the seconder. I'm fine with that amendment.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we are in comments for items not on the agenda, and this is the public comment segment.
on the screen.
Mr. Tovar.
Yes, a couple of things. First, per Robert's Rules of Order, it's not a big deal, but when you voted, for instance, to approve Robert's Rules of Order, when a motion was made, you're supposed to ask for discussion. And then after you hear none, then you do make the motion to approve. I just want to, one thing that I would suggest that the board does this time is that every item on the agenda is something that the public can speak to. There was a decision made last year that additions or deletions and future agenda items not be included in that, but I think it's important. This is a chance for the public to speak. Most of the time, we're not going to be discussing that, and it's up to you whether you decide whether to add something that the public has suggested. But I would suggest that you include those as being things that the public can speak on. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no one online and no one else in person, I will move on to student voice. Okay. The consent agenda, 6.1, regular meeting minutes. This is February 23rd, 2023. I would
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh,
I move.
oh,
Second. Whatever.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Current business, 7.1, new hires.
We do not have any new hires to share with you this evening.
Old business, this is the budget revote timeline.
And then I can just speak to that quickly, and I welcome anybody else who's been through this before. In your addendum, there's a document basically of what happens when the school budget does not pass. What I would refer everybody to is the third page, where it kind of gets down to the budget revote by Australian ballot. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but it kind of gives a sort of a timeline of what we're required to do. One of the dates that we want to put out to the public right now, we are working on, is Tuesday, May 9 as a revote. That is the date of the town meeting for Barrie Town. However, a wrinkle that has come into play, that would be the logical place to do this. The wrinkle is that at Barrie City, the auditorium is being used that week for, I believe, a commercial truck convention. It's like an all-week thing that they've booked. So we're going to be working with the city to see if we can come up with an alternative site for voting. But I also want to put that out to the board just to get their thoughts. We were thinking that May 9 would be the logical place since a vote is already happening in Barrie Town. But I just put that out to everybody to discuss.
So if I could add to that discussion, because I got contacted by our town clerk, and the reason why I got copies is because I happen to be the chair of the Board of Civil Authority for the town. And the problem they have is the 9th is the scheduled vote for both the municipal side of Barrie Town and any elections that are occurring there. And traditionally what has happened is that if we have ever had school budget failures, it would normally default to that first Tuesday in May, because that way we wouldn't have to set up twice. We looked at some of the things that were in the statutes that talked about we had to have 20 days in which to present the absentee ballot. So we have that at the last possible point is 20 days before the election. That creates a problem because you still have to produce the ballots. And on top of that, there was the other issue of personnel. We have our clerk finally taken her vacation during that point, and we're also losing another person in that office. So having these particular elections and budget votes, which would actually fall, if you follow the timeline, within less than 2 weeks of each other, made no practical sense for Barrie Town. So when I got her letter on that, I looked at it and I said, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that's a problem.
So we shouldn't pursue the main 9, then we should.
No, we should pursue
Oh,
them.
we should,
Yeah,
okay, great.
because that's already in the queue already.
Got it,
So
alright.
it's a matter of what you do in Barry City to coordinate that date for another location. What about the BOR?
You can't do, so a revote has to be at the same location as the original vote. So you can't, they have to be at the same time, it's my understanding. You can't, it can't. I talked to Carol.
Well,
Is it like
If
the
it's
same
unavailable-
physical building, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it has to be at the same location.
Yeah, I read that, that's how we thought but read that last.
Yeah, it states here that if the polling place is unavailable, the vote may be held at a different location with notice posted.
You wanna check, you
Yeah,
gotta.
that was what we were doing, is
Yeah,
reach
that's what
out
the
to the
statutes
city.
also say, too, what you
David,
just said.
Right.
Delcor might have some thoughts on this.
David?
I don't have any thoughts, just some information. I thought the same thing about the BOR, but they're renting the BOR as well and Alumni Hall. So, with respect to the Civic Center complex, that's off the table.
Well, we also had another thing that was suggested to us, which was during the era of COVID, we had the drive-through balloting process too. So, I mean, that is an alternative. We're not gonna tell the city what to do, that's for sure.
I'm just saying that you have to have it at the same location unless there's an emergency. And if there's no emergency, in a truck convention is not an emergency, so I don't think you can do it. Sonia and Chris got an email from Carol on this,
Yeah,
and you might wanna read that.
but it's included in the packet,
It's
it's
included
included
in
in the
it.
agenda,
That's
it's
what
the
this
4th
is.
page.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry,
That's what that
That's
was.
what I was just reading to you.
Yeah.
sorry.
I
It's all
think,
right.
if it's all right with the board, we will dig deeper into this tomorrow. It is sounding like, I agree with Paul, it's sounding like May 9 really has gotta be the target. So if we can work with the city to find something, and that is helpful, David, about the BOR, cause we were gonna pursue that. But, we'll try to be as creative as we can. The good news is we got some time to figure this out. So, but I think it is helpful to at least have that date so we know what we're working with and we can start getting that out, so.
What about the Elks?
You know about parking?
Parking might be a problem.
We were thinking about, we're talking about even here, Spalding somehow.
Well, I was thinking here too, but I don't
We
think that's
use the
school.
gymnasium at Barry Town, so.
Yeah, well, there was an emergency that did happen during voting, and it ended up being at the Labor Hall.
Oh,
It was a
that's-
propane
yes.
issue, and they had to evacuate the building, so voting happened there.
So get back to us.
I should be in touch with the city
Yes.
about that. That's what we'll do. We'll work hard on this tomorrow.
David, did you have something else? Your hand.
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Thank you. Who else is, oh, Sonia.
My only question is, and I'm gonna actually turn to Burn Rose, is the Labor Hall, is there an accessibility issue with the Labor Hall?
No, it's fully accessible.
Okay, thank you, that was my concern, but, okay.
Chris, who else is on?
Melissa?
Go ahead, Melissa.
Can I just remind you guys that when you're speaking over one another, it's hard for those of us that are on the call to hear what's going on and who's speaking.
All right, I will control that better, thank you. Is there any other discussion involving the timeline? Okay. Any other business? Roundtable? Sonia?
I got to attend the Spalding girls game last night and it was amazing and I just want to congratulate them. It was a great season and one of the players is the younger sister of one of my son's friends and they were like my daughter was there and her friend and all the younger sisters were, it was just really fun to see her, to be able to see her win that championship and just really proud of them and congratulate them.
All right, Paul, we're moving this way.
Okay, I have several things and they really pertain to the accounts payable. I have about 4 things I wanted to ask a question on, just to get some clarity. And I don't know, Chris, you can answer this or not. We had something that was on page 2. I'm just gonna give you the pages so you have that. That dealt with Brian Bouchard Controls LLC, I wanted to know if that was related to the ongoing construction project that's going on at the high school, if that's what's also coming out of the ESSER. That was one question.
What line is that?
That was on page 2, and it was the 4th line down. It was payables 72629.
Okay.
You know, we just noted that. The next thing I had that was an issue dealing with a repair that was related to flooding. Is that covered by insurance?
It should be.
So it should be. So there'll be
Yep, all claims are going forward.
Okay, so I just want to know if that was, I know we're paying it out of this, but I figured there would be a claim paid and that would probably reimburse that.
Yeah, I don't know the status of that claim, but I know it's in motion.
I talked to Jamie, and that was one of my questions, and there's a $5,000 deductible.
$5,000 deductible. I don't know how, this one here was
That's
just
fine.
under 1,000 on this one, so I didn't know if there were more coming. And then we had the large item which was for the EEI, and I assume that was just a payment that was also coming out of ESSER. It was about $391,000 payment, so I would assume that that's part of that project that we put out through the ESSER, am I correct?
Yeah, and we can verify that at Monday's
Okay,
facilities.
so that'll have a reimbursement coming back in there from those ESSER monies, am I correct?
That would make
Okay.
sense.
And then there was something else that, and I know it sounds kind of small, but there was a First Light fiber. It looks like it's some sort of service that might also be related to that same fund. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know.
Okay. I'll
Doesn't mean we
forward
can't
some of
find
those
out.
on.
Okay.
The other thing that was of concern dealt with a Green Mountain Power bill that we had, which was 2731. But the only reason why I noted that is because on page 7, we had an expense to Novus for the solar. And I'm wondering, are we supposed to be receiving something from the solar to offsets electrical? It seems like we have had a number of
It just might
payments.
be a delay timing.
So that's about, $8,100. That's why it kind of perked my curiosity. And I think that was just about it. Yes, it was. Thank you.
Paul, if I can,
Sure.
So I think Terry had asked to have the solar discussed at some point because it's confusing, and I think the
Okay.
last time it was discussed, if I'm remembering correctly, but Lisa said that we get credits, but like in the winter months, we don't get as many, we don't have as much of an offset, whereas in the summer, we may have more of an offset. So it doesn't, the offset, like it's just like one, like in the December month, we may actually pay something, and then in summer, we might not pay anything at all, that sort of thing. So but I think Lisa's gonna give us
All these questions can be directed right to our business manager. She'll be able to.
Yeah.
Well, my primary question is the solar really doing what they said it was going to? Because I noticed in the town, that hasn't turned out quite that way.
Yeah,
So I'm a little
I
concerned
do know
Okay.
that this time of year especially, the offsets aren't as.
No problem. I'll talk to Lisa about it.
Okay.
That's all I had. Enough.
Thanks, Paul.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Chris?
I just want to welcome our new members. Glad to have you. Congratulations. And Paul, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Carter.
Exactly. And looking forward to a good year with everybody this year. I'm happy to be moving forward with you all. So welcome and congratulations.
Well, I'll have to say something because I have to. I went yesterday, went down, got sworn in, and then went over to central office, and just it's something that I do. I like to, get to know people, and I appreciate the cake. It was very yummy. I couldn't eat it there, which I didn't. Wish I knew whose birthday it was. I would have gone over and wished him happy birthday.
We do a lot of cake at the central office.
And of course, I see that we got some cupcakes here. So I just wanted to say I'm pretty excited about being on here, and I'm very excited with Giuliano as the chair.
Thank you. Nancy?
Yes, I want to welcome Emily, Ben, Michael. Looking forward to working with you. And I also want to compliment the high school girls, Division I, Spalding. I'm so proud of all of them. I mean, it was just awesome. I didn't go to the game, but I did watch it, at home, and it was just phenomenal. So proud of them. It's proud of all, even the boys, the basketball teams, and they're just doing great. They're really, really doing good. And I've got cupcakes, compliments. Tim Bolden prepared all these for everybody to help themselves.
More calories.
We heard there was celebrations going on.
Terry.
Welcome to our new members, and also congratulations to all of our winter sports teams, especially the girls hockey team. Anybody that's been following them, they've had a run over the last 4 years that rivals anything in the state. It's amazing. It's amazing. So awesome job for those girls.
Absolutely.
I have spoken with all of you. I will continue to do that, so be prepared to get another call from me just to pick your brains, see what you're thinking. Chris?
I'm gonna just jump on the sports thing here. This morning, I got to join Michelle Francis and the girls hockey team, along with our former longtime coach and teacher Marilyn Gray. Those of you, any Spalding alumni here will know Stacy remembers Coach Gray well. But a tradition that they have is that at the end of the winter sports season, Marilyn comes in and hands the athletes roses. It was a beautiful ceremony this morning, and I remember as a new young teacher here in the mid-90s, Miss Gray was incredibly kind to me, and here we are 25, 30 years later. She is being kind to the next generations. It was wonderful to see. So congratulations all the kids. Basketball teams and the wrestlers had incredible seasons. It was wonderful for Barry. So
Thank you, Chris.
big play, Bella, coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Easter weekend.
Future agenda items. There's the student-led survey results scheduled for our next meeting. Special education changes, pre-K changes, the Heritage Festival POs. This was Alice's, and I hope that Alice continues with this. I will keep in touch with Alice on this. The first reading of policy A20, C22, C4, D23, and rescinded policy D32. Anything else that members would like to see on this coming agenda, just email me and we'll see if we can fit it in. Chris?
Quick point. We might be able to spread out B and C. Those are bigger topics. Maybe we do one of them in April. We and I can talk about that.
Sure. Okay. And if there are any other agenda items that board members would like to see, please just email me and I will add it to the list.
Juliana, do we do building reports and committee reports in the second meeting? Yeah? So we would have those next time also?
Yes. Okay. Anything else? All right, next meeting, March 23rd, here at the library or via Google Meet, and then April 13th. Actually, no, that has been changed. 12th. Chris, do we have anything for executive session?
I do not have anything for executive session this evening.
So I would look for a motion to adjourn, Michael.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Somebody
Juliana.
take one of those
Thank you.
cupcakes.
Yes.
Nancy, you're taking them all home.
Folks, the recording is not going to be normal, but we'll have it all uploaded by midday tomorrow. It'll look a little different than we have.
Sounds good.
Good night, everybody out
No,
there.
that's, is that your alligator clip?
That's mine. That was Friday.
Wow.
Hey, seriously, welcome. Good to see you. Good.
Yummy.
I would imagine life up in general. I was so blown away by that place. We did a showcase over there last year. This place to work. I love the kids.
Hopefully, going and growing. I get to see